board, so it'll be available on demand. Terry Robinson works with Rosa. She'll be our Zoom moderator, but I'll also be looking at the chat if there are any problems you're having or have questions. We'll be help moderating those questions to Rosa during the training. But so a little bit about Rosa. Rosa Grillo, she is a social entrepreneur providing customer-focused strategies in social innovation, community engagement, marketing, and public relations, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. She has over 20 years of experience through her company, Grillo Strategies, LLC, advising companies and organizations on strategies that provide sustainability, build communities, and encourage growth while preserving culture. Of Afro-Cuban roots, she has worked with many organizations in the Washington, D.C. area, including a collaboration with the Smithsonian Institution, and she currently provides public relations and community engagement services to the Ringling Museum of Art. So without further ado, Ms. Rosa Grillo.
Good morning, all. Good morning. Thank you, Audi. Thank you for inviting us to present today. So glad to see so many faces here and names. And as Odie said, I hope everybody's safe, recovering from the hurricane. And we care a lot about those who are still going through it and will be for a long time. But, you know, we all on this call are dedicated to helping. So we look forward to good things for them. So we're going to talk a bit about how to get that vision in order to do the planning that you need to do for today, tomorrow, and the future. And here with me as a Zoom moderator is a longtime colleague and friend, Terry Robinson, who keeps me in order a lot and will keep us in order. So Terry, tell us how we're working this today.
So today, good morning, everyone. I'm Terry, and I am going to, I'm hoping because of the way the world has been in the last couple of years that most of you are familiar with these Zoom meetings. We will be keeping everyone muted. If you need to speak, want to speak, or selected to speak, you will receive a message or prompt to unmute. If you have any questions or comments, you can use the chat. If there's something that you hear that you want to, maybe compliment the presenter or the person who's making the statement, you can use your reactions, raising your hand, your thumbs up. And we will be utilizing at least one breakout room today. And you will receive an invitation to join that breakout room, and you just select it, and there you go. We'll give you information a little bit more as we get closer to that portion of this meeting. So welcome anyone. If you need to, having any problems with Zoom, you can put me a message in chat. I'm Terry. I will also give you my cell phone number, and I will put that in the chat as well. If you need to reach out to me, you're having a problem, you can also text me. Thank you, and enjoy this meeting. And I will turn it back over to Rosa.
Thanks, Terry. And if you'll pull up the first slide, we'll get going.
Okay.
There we are. So, there's been a paradigm shift in the way that we run nonprofits now. And strategic planning is a concept that's been around for forever and ever and ever. And of course, yes, we have to plan on how we're doing it, but I'm going to suggest to you a bit more innovative way of doing. We have, as you see your future and make bold affirmative steps toward having that future that you want to see. Terry, if you'll go to the next. Okay, so what is strategic planning? It's a process of defining an organization's direction, setting strategic goals. This is where we want to be. We want to have a larger organization. We want to serve we want to expand our territory. We want to provide more services to our current clients. Then we determine actions to achieve the goals. We think about the steps that we have to do to make it happen. We set a timeline, and then we mobilize the resources to execute the actions. What I'm going, next please. So in the considerations in putting together a strategic plan, we look at, these are the 5 biggies that we look at. The mission, what is it, why are we here? What is the reason for being? The vision, and you'll notice I bolded that. How will your community be changed and made better by what you have done? Mission, vision, values. What core principles should guide your organization into the present and into the future? We set goals, who we want to be, what we want to be, how we want to do what we want to do, when we want to do it. We set the timelines. And then you create the strategies to make that happen. This is all very basic in strategic planning. I have bolded vision because that's the new paradigm, that if we have the right vision, we can really step out in all kinds of ways. Let's go to the next slide. The typical thought in nonprofit management has been, we look at results by the number of people that come to the door, how many meals we serve, how many grants we gave, how many whatever. What I'm suggesting is a new paradigm in social innovation and social entrepreneurship, where we use real business skills to build a business that does good and makes a difference, and makes a lasting difference, and has sustainability, and it works no matter how the landscape changes. That if we are bold in our thoughts and how we do it, in our vision, we move forward. The visionary is usually the leader of the organization. Sometimes the leader just says, this is what I see, figure it out, do it. Well, we want to keep them there doing that because they set us to a standard. So if we get the board and we get the executive leadership thinking in bold ways, then yes, we can move forward in making things happen. That means looking for, not depending on that same grant that came in every year, or expecting that the same number of clients will come to the door that'll give us the monies that we need, that the same number of students will enroll in our program. If we want to grow it, we have to think in other ways that are going to sustain us no matter how the world changes. If you'll go to the next slide. The difference between social and the traditional way of planning is that, if you'll see by this graphic, traditional depends on the dollars coming in the door so that we can do, and then we can count them, and then we can report, and that's it. The social is a more collaborative process that it brings together collective thought and innovative thought. It might be instead of making that community garden where the kids can grow vegetables and learn about science and related. We create a revenue generating piece of it so that the kids are selling their profits. They're learning how to do that, and they're building it further so that there's actually in time that there is a store. And that in time, when it really works well, these kids are learning how to run it. They're learning all pieces of the business and doing it themselves without the support that was coming before, without the public support that we always expect to have, but it's not guaranteed. We start thinking from the beginning how we want to grow, how we can make our own resources. How do we build our board to bring in the resources that we need? If we're looking to develop a new piece of property or acquire a new piece of property, it's smart to have on the board a developer or real estate person that can help make that happen. We want to build that in a certain way so that we are looking at the particular pieces that need to be, and we expand our vision so that it's larger than what you were thinking. Now, it'd be interesting if you can take a couple minutes and put in the chat some of the things that you plan to do in a strategic planning process. What is your goal? It's more than sustainability. What is that new project that you want to start? What is that growth that you want to see? Or you can raise your hand if you like, if you want to add some comments. Let's see, what are we seeing here? Move my board, Tara says. Move my board from an output way of thinking to an outcome way of thinking as we consider growth. Absolutely, absolutely, and that is the difference, because we're looking at the outcomes, not just how much we were able to generate, but what was the product, what was the outcome that made the difference. Ansley says, really understanding how we can fulfill our vision and mission and how to measure. And the step beyond that is measuring and multiplying. So it's exponential. And are we measuring on on the output as we talk about, or actually the outcome and the difference that we made in the world? Help board and leadership develop a shared vision. And that's about integration. I'm going to guess that you have a very diverse board, diverse thinking that needs to get on the same page and share that vision that's going to take it further. All of those things make a difference, and those are innovative. It's innovative thought that will take us to the next level and get us to a place where we're really making a difference in the community and the world. In whatever genre, arena, field that we decided, sector, whatever we decide to work on, that's what makes a difference. Terry, next slide, please. Is that clear to folks? I hope. Hoping so, because we're going to have an exercise where you actually think through some ideas. Are we? There we go. So we talk about social entrepreneurship versus nonprofit management. You know, I spent time in my career on government contracts where they said, go out and count the number of people that benefit from the home visits that social workers give. Okay. So I went out and I counted all the people and, you know, who actually they were able to see. And that was to see if they were, these contractors were effective enough in reaching these people and whether they should get another grant. But there was nothing that talked about, did these people then, did their beneficiaries, did their clients actually benefit from this piece? Did they get jobs? Were they able to build relationships outside? Or was this just a mill that we were creating? We want to make a difference that changes the world. We want to see that these folks who are receiving, these were TANF, in this particular case, they were TANF recipients, that they could go on and you know, eventually get off of TANF, get the job that they wanted, have their children taken care of, all those things that make a difference in the world. It's a concept that's just starting and not always working well, especially when there are government pieces involved. That's why we look to diversify our funding stream, the requirements that we have, the ways that we're able to engage with people so that if things shift, we are actually able to make a difference and see an outcome instead of just the output. That we're not counting numbers, we're measuring the outcome. Hope that's making sense to you. And the vision is the fuel for that. As long as you know what it is that you want to see, and it's not as long as we, I just see, I got a note that we have how much time before breakout, Terry?
Just maybe a little less than 5 minutes.
Okay, okay. The vision is the fuel. As long as you know what difference you want to make, that's what keeps you going. And then that's what visionaries are the ones who make the difference in the world. Social entrepreneurs are ones who come with business skills and the drive to make it happen. And you know what happens is that social entrepreneurs then continue on to the next. After they've gotten that going and they're seeing the thriving organization or a thriving community, they can move on and take those skills elsewhere. Those are the people that become billionaires in their particular fields, but they also make a difference in these kind of ways. Sometimes it's philanthropy, sometimes it's just sparking that interest. Now, when we're talking about goals, which we'll do in a few minutes, we have different goals when we get to planning, when we get to strategic planning. It might be a goal toward diversity. It might be, well, you all tell me some of the goals that you have. What is it that you want to do? What is the growth that you want to see? What's your 2-year goal or your 5-year goal? How to generate and earn income to help support our community work? Absolutely. And see what happens when that works well, the income then can be reinvested. And those who have been beneficiaries then become the technicians and those that run it. And some of those who were on the side of receiving a handout then become the CEO. Increase and diversify board. Increase and diversify board. And that's a very strategic issue. We want to talk about how it is that you need to diversify, because it's not just related to race or income status or whatever. It could be all kinds of diversity that you're looking for in the specialties that your board members bring. I was chair of Unity Healthcare in DC. We had a 21-member board, and by law, we had to have 11 that were consumers. Well, there used to be healthcare for the homeless, so there were folks who were low income and didn't have other choices for medical care, but placement of those other slots. So they gave us the real intelligence, and then we carefully placed in those other spots the community members who could help us build the way we needed to, including an entrepreneur who taught us how to make a revenue piece so that we could finance our own work. Next slide, please. So hopefully you've gotten a little bit of thought about how to work your vision. Now, Terry is we're going to do lots of groups, so everybody will have a chance to talk. If we actually up to our 60 people, is that? We're going to get to, I think, how many in a group, Terry?
Right now, it looks like we have 21 people. So we're going to put about 4 to 5 people in each group.
Okay, that sounds good. And we have how much time for this group exercise?
About 15 minutes.
Okay, so in your group, hopefully you're with folks that you've never met before, and you're coming, let's go back, Terry. There. You're going to, and we want you to take a picture of this slide if you can, so that you'll have it when you're in your breakout room. If you have your phone nearby, just take a picture of this. Talk in your group about your vision, the change that you want to make in the world. Talk about the resources that you need to achieve that goal. And resources might be mental resources. Resources might be idea resources. Resources might be space. They're all kind, might be a manufacturing plant. Talk clearly about where do you want to go. Now that's the path. Set it at, and set the timeline. So if you're talking about a 2-year or a 5-year goal, hit a couple points in there to where you are, from where you start to get to your 2-year or your 5-year goal. That set the timeline. And then at the end, we want you to tell us what you saw, what that finish line is, and more importantly, what that outcome has laid the groundwork for future improvement and growth and contribution to the community. Is everybody clear on that? Any questions?
Okay.
Good, good. Okay, so hold on. You're going to be zipped out of this room and zipped into another.
Yes, you will receive an invitation to accept the, to join the breakout room that you've been put in.
To you.
This meeting is being recorded.
I think some people had to hop off early, so I think this is great. We're back to the core group.
Okay, let's have some. Want to hear what went on in your rooms.
And if you'll pull up that slide, Terry, the next slide.
Okay.
And we're going to ask for volunteers. The next one. So you work through, some of you work through these points. And now we're going to talk about any sparks that were lit in the process.
So what's your new vision is the first question. The slide will catch up. For some reason it's sticking.
Okay. Okay, who would like to speak up? You can raise your hand or unmute yourself if they're able to do that.
I see Joyce has her hand up.
So I got some really great ideas on that. I think our organization, Transition Sarasota, we send volunteers to local farms to harvest any unwanted or excess produce, which we donate to food banks to feed those in need. So I've only been in the position for a year, and we've already seen some growth, which I'm happy about. But my goal or vision would be to have really no food wasted, which probably is not reasonable, but I would love to see many more farms contributing to this. So the resources that are sticking me right now, I think we need to diversify our board of directors because we need other sources of income other than what we have. We need more farms. So it'd be wonderful to have on our board of directors, maybe a farmer that had additional contacts. We'd have to buy some boxes because we've been using other boxes but that we have to bring back. And I've already found a source for that, but we'd have to have funds for it and then a place to store them. So I think that my strategy would be first to try to develop the board of directors and see if we couldn't partner with somebody that had some warehouse facilities. And that's one of the things that came up during the meeting actually is partnering with somebody with the warehouse facilities because we don't have a location of our own. I think that for us, we're tiny. We have only 5 people on the board, so it would be baby steps for us. As we've been doing, baby steps, assess, baby steps, assess. That would be the strategy there. The timeline for me, as I count this first year, is year 1. We've definitely seen some growth, but that was kind of an experiment in a way to see how we were going to adjust. So I consider the next 2 years would be adding more farms and finding new ways of income, finding ways that we could have our own supplies and so forth. With the finish line after 2 years would be to be like, okay, let's take a very brief step back on the shelf and really assess how things went during that time and see if the strategy is still working or do we need to adjust yet again? Because sometimes I think maybe year 1 isn't enough to give you enough data, but after a couple of years of doing something, you know how well it's working, what you might need to do. So I learned a lot from that, and I also learned a lot about what types of people we should have on the board. So it was very helpful to me.
Thank you, Joyce. Anyone else want to speak up?
Charlene has her hand raised.
Yeah, so ours was interesting. We talked about how collaborations could help develop and execute a strategic plan, a new mission, and we talked about you know, who you have in the room when you're talking about a strategic plan and the possibility of bringing in the community members that, or, you know, other stakeholders other than just maybe your circle that, you know, your board or your leadership. And, you know, for who we are here, collaboration is one of our guiding principles. So bringing in others outside in a stakeholders position into the strategic planning process is it seems like it shouldn't be a new concept, but it's like, oh, right, you know, the people in the room are the people that, you know, technically are supposed to be in the room, but who else can we invite into the room that can help in that regards, other than just board members? And then, you know, back to what I had put in the chat about having my board get on board with a shared vision rather than trying to develop a lot of different tangents. So that's what I got from our group. So thank you for Linda and Danielle and Carol. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, having not just your board and a staff member and a couple others, stakeholders, somebody in the community that you want to be involved, who's really not really part of your organization now, is very helpful to get that other point of view. Good ideas, good ideas. Who else? We talked. Go ahead.
I was in a group with Rebecca Prieto and Michelle Redwine, both from grassroots organizations, and going off of what Charlene mentioned about having a voice, someone to go to the community and be connected to it. Michelle had mentioned something along those lines for like a resource that you need someone connected to the community to connect not only the organization, their vision and their mission, but to build that trust from that person who has that voice. I thought that was really important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A lot of these discussions have been around board development, and I offered in our group that I'm based in Bradenton, but I serve on a board, a community development corporation in Norfolk, Virginia. So you don't have to limit yourself to local folk to serve on your board, that they bring national resources, and every time that someone else comes in, their sphere of influence is brought into your organization as well, and their contacts. When you need board members, because I'm not in Virginia, I'm not one of the worker bee members on the board. I don't go to every event when the community garden opens and all of that. However, I offer advice and strategic vision as is needed. So we're talking about doing a 2-tier board at this point, an advisory as well as the working board. So just bringing in more resources. And so anyone else want to add?
Hi, my name is Onyx. I'm with the Multicultural Health Institute, and one of the big things that came out of talking with Mindy and Sheila for me was that need for networks within the community, of course, but also among the different organizations. And just, we can really strengthen all we're trying to do by building those connections and working in tandem. Yeah, so even when we were talking, we also exchanged some contact info and like are building that even here. So that was really cool. Glad to be here.
So hopefully we can work on this group that's now energized and looking in that direction. We can continue to work together in ways to make that happen, take it to the next step. Let's get to the last slide, because I think we're almost out of time here.
Yes, we are, just a little. I apologize.
You've heard the term corporate social responsibility, that every corporation, whether it sits in their philanthropy section in their foundation or whatever, there is a responsibility to make, to be a good community neighbor. That's an idea that I want you to think about more, and we can explore that at other times if you'd like. Again, this was we talked about board development. We talked about setting those goals. I hope this was helpful to you. That, you know, in only 60 minutes, we can't put together a full plan, but hopefully I was able to spark some thought in how to go forward in innovative ways to build what you want to do in your organization. Would love to get some feedback. Please reach out if you'd like to talk about working further. And I'm hoping Odie will say that we're going to do a follow-on to this that's more specific. We may do this in the future.
Absolutely. And we're here to provide as much resources to our nonprofit partners and friends as much as possible. So, I mean, it was they who wanted a strategic planning webinar, and we're happy to provide more in detail for that too.
Thank you. So I think we're about ready to wrap up. Any last thoughts before we do? We have 2 minutes. I just want to say thank you to you all who have come on and shared your thoughts. We have, Odie will have the recording of the big session, the breakouts we do not have. But I hope there's some cross-fertilization of ideas that happen and that we'll move forward. Good luck to you all. Please reach out if I can be of help. Thank you. And thank you, Odie, for the opportunity.
Of course. Thank you.